Hello and welcome to Before the Heights on the SEC Network. We are at Auburn Arena on the campus of the Auburn University as the 17th ranked Tigers host the 4th ranked LSU Tigers. The fans are in the stands. The gymnasties are back and they look nasty as ever. Keep your children away. Auburn is excited. They got a big matchup and it's going to be a tough matchup as they welcome the number 4 team in the country. Hello everyone, I'm John Roethlisberger alongside Alicia Sacramone-Quinn. Alicia, it's hard to believe we're right back here at the beginning of another women's college gymnastics season, and of course, in the best conference for women's gymnastics, the SEC. And it's early in the season, but we've got a great matchup. Number 4 comes to town, LSU. Auburn trying to defend their home turf. Both these teams want this win.
It's a battle of the Tigers here tonight, John. LSU came off a pretty strong season 2018. They finished 4th and ended up with championships, but that doesn't mean that was a bad finish. They were 3/10 behind the leader of UCLA, but it's the closest they've ever become to a national title. They started the season off last week, a few mishaps here and there, and they're ready to go slow and steady this year and try to peak right at the right time. And then you have Auburn coming in. They didn't make NCAAs last year. They have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. They added some new staff members, and they say that this team is a cohesive unit, and they are ready to be talked about in the SEC.
They have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. They want people to talk about them. They do return all 24 routines from last season due to the Auburn Tigers. Some things to watch for tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about the good, the bad, and the ugly of the sport of gymnastics. Expectation versus reality, and how these gymnasts get to the point where you see them on TV. It's not always pretty. And Alicia, a big return from McKenna Kelly and the LSU Tigers from a serious Achilles injury.
McKenna came back last week with a vengeance. She had a phenomenal floor routine that she's looking to build on this week. And, you know, after taking almost a year off of not being able to do gymnastics, you have to walk before you run, and she definitely looked like she came back in the right form.
And what is great for us is we get 4 all-arounders competing tonight in the all-around competition, which is kind of unusual, especially early in the season. It's going to be a great battle there as well.
It is. You have a freshman from Auburn, Darren Gobert, who is, you know, you typically don't see that. They're bringing out with a bang, and then Sarah Finnegan is looking like to be our all-around favorite from LSU.
And, of course, we'll talk about the Missouri-Florida competition, which took place earlier. Here are your lineups on each event for both these teams this evening.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Auburn Arena for tonight's competition between the LSU Tigers and your Auburn Tigers. Tonight's meet is presented by Auburn Bank, and now let's meet tonight's competitors. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the LSU Tigers. Sarah Edwards, Rebecca D'Antonio, Christina Desiderio, Lexi Briesman, Reagan Campbell, Bridget Dean, McKenna Kelly, Sammy Durante, Bailey Ferrer, Olivia Gunter, Sarah Finnegan, Juliana Canamella, Ruby Harold, Kennedy Edney, and Ashlyn Kirby. The head coach for LSU is Dee Dee Bro. senior from Huntersville, North Carolina, Sam Sirio. A senior from Cypress, Texas, Taylor Kribner. A senior from Denton, Texas, Abby Millay. A junior from Jacksonville, Florida, Emma Slappy. A sophomore from Tyler, Texas, Drew Watson. A junior from San Antonio, Texas, Gracie Day. A freshman from Port Orange, Florida, Sabrina Cheney. A freshman from Sarasota, Florida, Darion Goborn. A junior from Boone, North Carolina, Katie Becker. A sophomore from Macungie, Pennsylvania, Meredith Sylvia. A junior from Cornelius, North Carolina, Kendall Moss. A sophomore from Aurora, Colorado, Jada Glenn. A junior from Plano, Texas, Skylar Shepard. And a senior from Enterprise, Alabama, a Miracle Phillips. The head coach for your Auburn Tigers is Jeff Graba. His assistants are Kurt Hedinger, Ashley Johnston, and Ryan Rashilla. Ladies and gentlemen, these are your Auburn Tigers.
Coming up live, join us on the SEC Network when we have number 4, LSU, visiting number 17, Auburn. SEC Network. We're at Auburn Arena on the campus of the Auburn University as the 17th ranked Tigers host the 4th ranked LSU Tigers. Hello everyone, John Roethlisberger, Alicia Sacramone Quinn. And Alicia, it's hard to believe we are already back here at the beginning of another women's college gymnastics season, but of course, we're here in the best conference, the SEC. We got a great matchup tonight.
We have a battle of the Tigers here tonight, John. LSU, a little bit of a rocky start last week. A few mistakes here and there, but they're looking to capitalize and really make those improvements here tonight. They're slow and steady this season, ready to peak at the right time. Auburn welcoming 2 coaches to their staff, and they say this is a cohesive unit that have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, and they're working their hardest to get their team just recognized in the SEC as a contender in this conference.
And the series has not been kind for the Auburn Tigers. They trail big time, 78-15 against LSU. They've met 94 times. Auburn has lost the last 7 to LSU, and they are going to try to change that trend tonight. As you mentioned, Alicia, Auburn kind of has a chip on their shoulder. They want to get people talking about them. They have worked extremely hard in the offseason. The coaching staff has said as much, and they're going to get it started right here on a very good event for them. Big improvements for them from last season.
They are starting a number of 10-0 start value vaults, which is huge because this is the one event that can really separate you from the crowd. Because if you have full roster of 10.0s, that's going to add up to your end score.
That's big time if they can do it. And here's Katie Baker getting things started for Auburn.
Approaching a round-off back handspring onto the table. Yurchenko full. Decent-sized step backwards, landing with her chest down, so she'll get some deductions for that, but starting off with a hit.
What are some of the things people can look at throughout the evening on this event in particular?
Vault is very important. The landing is the last thing that sticks out in the judge's mind, so you want to make sure you're doing that with an upright chest, no movement of the feet, so you're not giving them any deductions to take away.
So a safe start for Auburn. Now, LSU, meanwhile, they will start on the 8 even bars. And this is Sammy Durante. She knows what it's like to start off this rotation. She did it all last season. She is a sophomore this year.
Mounting over the low bar, getting up to the high bar. Blind change. Straddle Jaeger. Moving from high to low with a nice pack salto. You can see assistant head coach Jay Clark moving between the bars. As long as he does not touch the athlete, there will be no deduction. It is strictly for safety, and that is A-OK. Gearing up for the dismount. A full twisting double back. Small movement on that landing. Strong set for Sammy to start with. She has nice tight form going into that straddle Jaeger. Times it out well, doesn't catch too close, and then building momentum before that dismount to land. Just moves that 1 foot just an inch.
I think I did see her get the stick crown, by the way, so the team thinks it was a stick. I'm not sure what the judges think, but you know what? The most important person likes it, and it's Dee Dee Bro. Back over to the vault. This is Gracie Day. She follows Katie Becker's 9.775.
Gracie is one of my favorite athletes to watch. She has such a personality, and she's dynamic. And this is one of the better events for her, and she gets some ups off this vaulting table.
Talking to herself before that vault, hyping herself up.
Round off, big 1.5. Not great placement for that Auburn mat holder. Couldn't really tell.
A little crooked.
On the landing.
She almost landed in the judge's lap. How hard can that be, or how hard are the judges on that if you go a little bit crooked?
It's definitely a deviation deduction. So there's no straight lines where you are, but they can see that on the landing.
Real quick, here are the gymnastics rules. 6 gymnasts per team will compete on each event. The 5 best scores count. That means if you have a miss, you can drop it, but don't have more than one. The highest cumulative score obviously wins the meet. Home team starts on vault. Visiting team starts on bars, and this is Bridget Dean from the visiting team. She will be the second gymnast up following Sammy Durante.
Mounting up onto the high bar. Big release move. A little bit form breaks on the feet. Short on that handstand there. Keeping the momentum moving from high to low.
Sammy got a 9.825 in the leadoff position. A very good start score.
Tad bit short on that handstand. Good tap swings between the bar. Double layout, slight leg separation, small step. I think right now LSU is just looking for hits, and it's not the point in the season where they're fine-tuning, trying to get those perfect scores. We're just talking about making routines at this point. You can see she's not fully hitting that 90-degree mark, and that's where the judges are going to deduct a little bit here and there for that.
And that has got to be the ultimate judgment call as well on whether they hit that handstand.
Bars, there are points of emphasis that the judges are really looking for. Like I've been talking about, those handstands, form, and sticking that dismount.
Here's senior Miracle Phillips.
Nice run approaching the table. Yurchenko full, kicks that out early. Needs a little bit more control, but that was a beautiful vault. Nice height, good form. Just needs to work on that landing.
Gracie Day got a 9.8 for her Yurchenko 1.5.
Just slight piking down in that hips. You see that bigger 8-inch mat there on top, just adding a little extra padding to protect the body throughout the season.
Looked like she didn't need that little pike down at the end. She had plenty of amplitude.
All she had to do is lift her chest just a tad bit more, and she could have landed perfectly straight.
And here's junior Ruby Harold for LSU. She has done quite a job getting ready for the season, talking to the coaching staff, especially Dee Dee Bro. They just were speaking glowingly of Ruby and her preparation for this season.
Ruby is a great competitor. She is a former Olympian. She has the poise and the experience to be able to handle this type of pressure, and she's a great role model for the other teammates that she has around her.
She is from Bristol, England. Was actually on the British Olympic team, was an alternate in 2012, and she competed in 2016, actually a World Cup medalist as well on the uneven bars. This is where she really shines.
Mounting over the high bar. Strong hit. This is a unique release move. It was made famous by an old German gymnast, and I'm going to butcher the pronunciation. So it's the Zook hold, and then she's moving through the routine. Nice straddle Jaeger. Nice pop to double front dismount. Blind landing. It's a little bit harder to stick, causing her to take that step backwards. But a nice, another clean routine for LSU. I've seen them do better, but it's not going to really fault them.
You don't see this one too often, though, do you, Alicia?
No, I personally am so entertained by this release. She's hitting the bar with a little bit closed angle in her shoulder, so she will get a deduction for that. Ideally, she'd like to have flat armpits, feet pointing straight up to the ceiling.
So the star freshman for the Auburn Tigers, this is Darian Goborn. She always dreamed of being on the Auburn Tiger team. She has already started off well last weekend, and here we get to see her.
Approaching the table. Big 1.5 to a stick! That was money. So nice.
It is tough to get 10-0s early in the season, but this one looked pretty perfect, Alicia.
Slight leg separation when her hands got onto the table. It happened so quickly, I'm not sure if the judges will be able to see that to get that deduction, but that was huge.
She is a freshman, and a lot of great things. There are not enough superlatives to say about Darian Goborn. We will see her in the all-around this evening. Now back over to the uneven bars. This is Kennedy Edney. LSU so far has got 9.825, 9.75, and 9.75. So hit routines, but just not that exclamation point. Some small errors throughout.
Like we talked about, they're just looking to go slow and steady this season and just get through the beginning part with healthy athletes. Kennedy is a great, consistent worker for them. She's moving from high to low, a little bit short on that handstand, but the transition she has is so smooth.
Darian Goborn on vault, by the way, a 9.9, so the judges found a 10th somewhere in there.
Getting ready for that dismount. Beautiful double layout. That is a stick, my friend.
Deliver the stick crown. So that was really, it felt like to me, Alicia, the first real solid, clean start-to-finish routine.
That's the type of routines we're used to seeing from LSU. I think we're still getting the hang of things with, getting back into season. It's getting the cobwebs out, getting your confidence back, and just being comfortable in that competition setting.
We saw Dee Bro there, 42 years at LSU. That is the longest tenured coach in the SEC in any sport. Yes, you did hear me correct. She has been around a long time. Now, one of our other all-arounders competing tonight, this is Drew Watson. She's in the 5th spot. She follows what I mentioned earlier, Darian's 9.9. They have a couple 10-0 vaults to try to put an exclamation point on this rotation.
Big Yurchenko 1.5. Missing a little bit of that control on the landing. She had a good amount of height. It will be a decent score, but not as close to what they were hoping for. Round off onto the board.
A lot of power.
So much power. Her head wasn't all the way around, so she couldn't see where she was trying to land.
It's going to be interesting to see what the judges do with that, because I think Darian was underscored slightly, but that vault wasn't nearly as good as Darian, so they're going to have to even go lower. The question is, how much lower do the judges go on Drew Watson's vault? Now back over to the uneven bar. Somebody that people pay the price of admission to see. Just her. It's Lexi Priestman. She is a senior. She is an SEC champ on this event, and man, is she fun to watch.
Lexi comes from Cincinnati Gymnastics. She was an elite athlete with me on national team. She is an amazing bar worker. Actually had surgery in the off season, and she's making this bar routine look pretty flawless considering she had her shoulder just a little touch up not too long ago.
This is going to be a big score if she can stick.
Oh, that was a nice dismount.
Kennedy Edney got a 9.925 right before her. I would not be surprised if this score goes up from there.
Sky high Takachi to immediate pack salto. That's bonus points, helping her get to a 10.0 start value. And that double layout, not moving at all.
I am not sure that she can do a better routine than that. I'm not sure what the judges feel. We'll find out in a moment. She got the stick crown, obviously, and they are coming back strong in this rotation. It looked like Auburn was going to have a lead after one. That might not be the case unless Jada Glenn, the sophomore out of Aurora, Colorado, can really nail this last vault. Drew Watson, meanwhile, a 9.85 right before her.
Striding towards that vault. Round off back handspring. 1.5.
Oh.
Short rotation. Needed a little bit more height. And needed to get her upper body all the way around more so she could make it to her feet without that big step to the side.
You know, they talked about upgrading all those vaults and getting 4 10-0 starts, which is so important. But as the course of the season goes, they're going to have to clean up those landings because it's not worth it if you're not clean. But I guess that's what you do early in the season is get some practice.
You run the risk of losing those deductions with those 10-0 start values.
Here we go with senior Sarah Finnegan, and she is a franchise changer. You have a Sarah Finnegan, and it can change the direction of your entire team. SEC Athlete of the Year in 2018.
Sky-high releases for Sarah. She does everything with such elegance, nice form, toe handstand to overshoot, to back up to the high bar, building momentum for that dismount, double layout. Oh, she couldn't hold on to it.
Give it though, the quick turn. She did the da-da-da quick turn.
We call that a college stick. I would like to see if the judges would do that. Good form. She's catching well above the bar, allowing her to get good momentum out of that tap swing to go into the kip.
She sticks it in slow motion. That's all that matters. Lexi Priestman got a 9.925. So outstanding start. A little slow for LSU at the beginning there, but they got it together. So a fun first rotation. We'll be back with a little recap of the first rotation and the good, bad, and ugly of the sport of gymnastics. Heights on the SEC network. We are through one rotation here in Auburn, Alabama, and the LSU Tigers have slightly over a 2/10 lead early here in this competition as Auburn tries to break that streak. Alicia, the gymnastics that the viewers at home get to see tonight, it's beautiful. It's made look easy a lot of times, but our first installment of J&A Academy is going to show you guys that it's not always pretty getting to this point, is it?
It takes years of practice to get to the point where you can be consistent hitting every routine you get up to do. There's a lot of days where you're not hitting that Jaeger like that. You're going to go into practice and you're going to go eat it on your face on that mat. So it's not so glamorous behind the scenes.
There's my favorite one is coming up, but you are right. We have been through this, and it doesn't always look like that one right there. Sometimes early on, it looks just like this.
It's pain with beauty with gymnastics. You have to learn your strengths and you have to learn your weaknesses and you have to build off that. But it takes years. It takes 10,000 tries, according to Malcolm Gladwell in his book Outliers, to become an expert or excel at that one thing. So you have a lot of repetition with gymnastics, and it shows. Any
skills for you that were just, the ones that kept knocking you down that you had to keep getting back up?
There's one skill on balance beam. I used to do a back handspring Arabian. It was a flip with a half twist and a blind landing. And I would split the beam every single day. Take it right to the side, roll over. And it got to the point where my coach was like, I can't take this anymore. Please stop doing it.
We're going to have that video for you guys next week here on Friday Night Heights, I hope. Again, LSU has a little over a 2/10 lead, but it's only one rotation. Coming up, LSU will go to vault. They have the 2017 NCAA champ on that vault, Kennedy Edney. Meanwhile, on the uneven bars, one of their senior leaders will lead the way. That's Abby Millay for Auburn. Marina, that's Dee Dee Bro, and she's making friends with the Gymnasties. And we had a chance to talk to Dee Dee about the Gymnasties. They are the rabid fan base here in Auburn. They're loud, they're boisterous. They're the ones that you want to hide the women and children from, quite honestly. It looks like Alicia, she's trying to make some friends because they can be very distracting.
It's an intimidation factor for sure. Dee Dee's getting him on her side. That way they're not a distraction for her athletes on vault that are really just like feet away from the Gymnasties.
Yeah, they are right along the vault runway. That is where LSU is competing. You can see associate head coach Jay Clark down at the end of the runway there, firing up his team. There is their lineup. And to the right of that graphic, you can see appearances. That's how many times that gymnast has competed on that event for LSU. So they got a good amount of experience on this event.
They definitely have a good amount of experience. And, that plays well into this. This event is about knowing when to ramp it up and when to open up your vault to try to stick that landing. And it's early on in the season. They had some mistakes last week. One girl sat their vault down, and they're looking to not see that again here tonight.
Here we go, senior Juliana Canamella.
Leading off the LSU Tigers, a big, full, small hop landing. She had good height, but the distance wasn't really super long, which is something that judges may deduct for. And you must remember, gymnastics judging is subjective. It's based on opinion and what the judges are seeing from their point of view.
Very similar to the first vault that we saw from Auburn in their vault rotation. They have some big vaults yet to come. Drew Watson, one of our all-around competitors this evening. She competed all-around only twice for Auburn last year, but that was enough to get her into the NCAA championships as an individual. You can see their experience for their bars lineup.
Mounting up to the high bar. Nice toe on, too big release. Toe handstand. Drew is making sure she is hitting those handstands to not get any deductions. Great form, nice lines. Strong set to start off with for Auburn on bars.
What a fantastic start.
This release move is called a Ray, made famous by former U.S. gymnast Elise Ray. Done very well by Drew Watson. The full twisting double back, 2 flips, 1 twist to a stick, leading off Auburn in the right direction.
What a great feeling. That first routine sometimes is the one that gets dropped, but man, if you can knock it out of the park like that, that can bode well for the rest of the lineup. Now back over to vault. Ruby Harold, first weekend out. Last weekend she had some trouble on this event, but she is, again, she's got the pedigree and she's got an opportunity to go big.
Yurchenko 1.5. Small step forward, definitely lunged that upper body. She wasn't expecting her feet to hit right when they did, it looks like. That's what made her lose her chest and take that step.
You know, the judges sometimes loosen up as the season goes by, but it seems like already on vault, they're a little tighter than maybe where they ended the season last year. Usually those 1.5s are going to score in the 9.9s. There is Jeff Graba in his 9th season as Auburn head coach. He's done an outstanding job since he got here, brought the team to a Super 6 finals. And he is hoping to get it turned around. Drew Watson, by the way, on uneven bars, that is a career high, 9.9 to start the bar rotation. Wow, what a way to get things going, and this is Gracie Day. I apologize, this is Taylor Krippner.
Moving from low bar to high bar, getting bonus for having those transitions. Everybody starts from a 9.5 if you get all of your requirements, and then it's bonus points that help you get to a 10.0 start value. Taylor's moving through this routine well. A little bit close on that dismount, but she was money on that landing.
It's early, but Auburn wants to break the streak. Looking good on bars. Next week, we got a triple header in gymnastics. First off, we have number 10 Arkansas and number 7 Kentucky, followed by number 18 Alabama visiting number 5 Georgia. That is where Alicia and I will be. And Florida will visit LSU. Florida not ranked yet, but after tonight's performance, they certainly will shoot up the rankings. It's going to be another great night of Friday Night Heights. Here we go with Lexi Priestman. She can go big on this vault as well.
Former elite, a little bit uncontrolled on that landing. She has power, though. She trains a 1.5. Jay Clark was talking about how they need to kind of pull the reins on her so to get her through the season. But nice form, slight leg separation, hiking down, just too much power, a little too much adrenaline, and she just was excited about being in the vault lineup.
So LSU still looking for that first stuck vault. Meanwhile, Darian Goborn, this is her second time ever, obviously competing the uneven bars. She's following Taylor Krippner now, 2 9.9s for Auburn, 2 career highs for Auburn in this rotation.
Mounting over the low bar to a pirouette, to a big Takachev, to immediate pack salto. Pirouette. Back on the high bar.
Only a 1/4 tenth separating these two teams. Every 10th counts.
Full twisting double back. Small slog!
Oh, she wanted it. It would have been 3
so
sticks
close.
in a row. I don't think you can give it the stick. It looked like maybe a 1/2 tenth heel slide.
Huge air time. Catches at the right time to make that connection seamless. It was very well done, well controlled, hitting those handstands. Auburn is not giving up any small deductions if they have their way.
Lexi Priestman put a 9.8 up on vault. Now Sarah Edwards, the lead. It's early, I know, but the lead is slipping away here in the second rotation for LSU.
Nice height on that 1.5. LSU has the power. They just aren't controlling those landings. It's like they almost have a little too much oomph.
Maybe a little of what you can expect at this point of the season, just kind of finding your way, getting the kinks out, Alicia?
It is. You're so excited to start the season, and anytime you're in a competition, the adrenaline is on your side, or it can kind of work against you depending on how well you harness your own energy and power. So LSU just needs to tone it back a little bit and do what they know how to do.
Senior Sam Serio gets ready to go on bars. Darian Goborn got a 9.875, so that little tiny heel slide at the end cost her that third 9.9 for Auburn on this rotation. And the scores so far on this rotation, plus look down below, only a 1/2 tenth so far separating these two teams at this point of the competition.
Eagle grip to beautiful pike Jaeger. Shoot over to handstand. Back Back up on the high bar. Blind change full to immediate double back. Bonus points, and I want to say that was a stick, but it was a step and turn. This crowd is electric right now for these Auburn Tigers.
Tell you what, it started kind of quiet in here, but it is heating up. And now we take a look at Sarah Finnegan, and she was the 2018 SEC Gymnast of the Year, and she is all everything. She is the person you want to go to. In fact, voted by her teammates, is if anybody's going to hit a routine, you had to pick one, they would pick Sarah Finnegan.
Sarah Finnegan vaults a Yurchenko full. It is big, it opens up, she knows where she is in that landing. Again, just that body movement of that step backwards. She has so much power. She's capable of vaulting harder vaults, but they tone her back because they want to keep her healthy.
That is as beautiful a Yurchenko full as you're ever going to see. Look at her open this
Legs
up.
together, opens it up, knows where she is. She has too much power, and that's not a bad thing when it comes to vault.
For someone like Sarah, it's only a question of whether you stick the vault or not. Everything else is going to happen. And as the season goes on, I'm sure she will stick more and more of those. Now, back over to the uneven bars. Auburn is rolling Serio at 9-9, and now they got their two anchors, Abby Millay, next up.
Toe handstand to array. Tight form. Abby Millay is such a clean, consistent worker. She was redshirt 1 year, so this is the year she's coming back to make up for lost time, and she is a great leader on this team. A blind change full to immediate double back to a stick.
And that is going to be another 9-9. I would be shocked if it is not.
Nice pointed toes, showing that perfect handstand. And this connection, the blind change full to immediate double back, not giving up a quarter of a tenth, nothing. She wants that score.
So Auburn making a serious move here early. Sarah Finnegan just gets a 9.825. I say just, that's a very good score, but when Auburn's putting up 9-9s, you can't keep up with it. Kennedy Edney trying to put a big one up here in the last spot.
Round off back handspring. 1.5, going for that stick, was fighting for it. Just needed a little bit more.
Longer toes, I think.
Yes.
Going to try to stretch those out for next weekend. That was a big vault, just missing that stuck landing. So for LSU, it was a good vault rotation, but when Auburn is doing what they're doing on bars, there's no way you can hold that lead. Here we go with the anchor, Gracie Day, last up for Auburn. Right now, they have 4 9.9s and a 9.875. So if Gracie Day can put up a 9.9 or higher, they will have all 9.9 counting scores in this rotation. That may be the highest bar score in the nation so far. Look at those numbers.
Gracie mounts over the low bar. Tad bit short on that handstand. Toe hand to blind chain toe half. Big straddle Jaeger to immediate overshoot. Back up on the high bar now.
Oh!
Arabian double front dismount. She wanted to stick that so badly. You could tell she kind of kicked it out trying to look for it, and it caused her to take that step backwards.
A tough dismount to stick, though, Alicia.
It is very hard, and she doesn't do any giants into it. She goes cast to immediate Arabian double front, which is very difficult. It's a blind landing. She could use a little more rotation through her chest to get up tall on her feet.
So when we come back, we are going to hear a little bit about McKenna Kelly and her return from that big Achilles injury right around the corner.
Before, I've had teammates that have, so they were key for me to lean on and validate my feelings of like, hey, is this normal? Should I be feeling this? Initially, I thought to myself, you know, I can let the injury embrace me or I can embrace it. I learned things about myself. I learned how to work with other people. I learned how to serve other people. It was a whole new perspective, but I have faith that I was supposed to do that my whole life.
She really carried the heart and was a real source of motivation and enthusiasm. And sometimes her lightheartedness is exactly what we needed to hear and see.
with the help of my teammates and just pushing through every day, knowing like, hey, I am okay, I am healthy, that was really tough for me. But I'm on the other side and happy to be here.
Quite a comeback for McKenna Kelly. And Alicia, you have had that same torn Achilles injury. She did outstanding last week. How hard is it to get back out on that floor for the first time?
I personally believe coming back from an Achilles tendon repair is the hardest surgery to come back from. You have to relearn how to walk, never mind tumble. So the fact that she came back in a little bit less than a year and is able to do big skills like a double layout and make it look effortless, it's a testament to her work ethic to make sure she did it right.
And how important is confidence? Because you're running down that floor for the first time and you know you've got to punch hard and trust that thing is going to stay together.
She knows that she put in the time and the work, and they took it slow with her. They said they didn't rush her into anything she didn't feel comfortable doing, and that was the right approach. And she's looking confident and trusts in her legs.
And she is outstanding on that floor. She is so important because they lost Maya Hambrick from last year, who is one of the best in the country. McKenna Kelly hopefully will fill in for her. McKenna's story and inspiration are special, and we will see more from her on floor later. Here for another story of inspiration, and LSU, unfortunately, also has a sad ending. The LSU gymnastics family lost a special friend in September when 8-year-old Gracie Zonbrecker lost her courageous fight. Lexi Priestman reflects on the incredible bond she had with Gracie.
She was more than just honestly a fan in the stands. She was more like a little sister to me and the team. Just the bond that we had was something that I will never forget. I tell people this all the time, but I really owe this season to her because I know how much she looked up to us, this team, and how much she would want to be at every single meet this year.
Marina, and unfortunately, a little bit of drama at a very inopportune time. We talked about McKenna Kelly and her amazing comeback. She landed a floor pass, and here it is. She landed a little bit short. Alicia, maybe you can talk about what she might have been feeling here.
She had a nice set. She was honestly, it was just a layout, and it was not really what we were looking for. So she had a short landing. She wasn't pointing to her Achilles. That's where it was pain. It was the front of her ankle, so she crunched it. So it's always a stinger. It hurts. They might not take the risk of making her go just to play it safe.
And we have a meet to continue with. Drew Watson is starting things off for Auburn on beam. They did turn this meet around. They had a .125 lead after the second rotation. So they won that second rotation, actually won the first two rotations by that .125, but turned it around by over 3/10 in one rotation. That's pretty big.
This is Drew Watson's second time competing on this event, and she's a little bit shaky. Its beam is very intimidating, and it would be probably a tough one to finally get your nerves out of and have that confidence. But she is in that leadoff position for a reason. They're looking for a hit. It may not be the highest score, but she stayed on and is giving them a solid footing to give everybody else a shot to get those great scores.
Her coaching staff said that is the one area where she has made the biggest improvement. And really, if she's going to be a contender in the SEC in the all-around, that is where she needs to step it up. And so far this season, she has done just that. So back over to floor exercise. LSU trying to keep things together, keep focused. One of their best, the comeback kid, McKenna Kelly, is in question at the moment. We're not going to speculate on her condition and whether she will compete. Ruby Harold, and I'm just being told Bailey Ferrer will go for McKenna Kelly. They surrendered the lead to Auburn after two. One of their best has just been pulled out of the floor lineup, and LSU have the poise to keep it together here in this rotation.
This is where having depth is so key. If someone does get hurt, that your alternates need to be ready to step in and take that spot and be confident in their abilities. A front handspring front double full, a little bit short on the rotation, getting that around. Ruby's going for her second tumbling pass. Round up back handspring, double pike. Nice height.
A little quick out of that landing. Is that opening herself up for a little deduction, Alicia?
It depends. She didn't have she didn't lack control. So she had a decent size step backwards. She actually might get deduction for the size of the step she took out of her lunge. So that's where the judges, it is subjective. So if one judge thinks that's a normal size step into a lunge, she won't lose anything. But if one judge thinks it's bigger than it should be, then she's looking at a 1/4 of a tenth to a 1/2 a tenth deduction for that step alone. Third tumbling pass, round off 1.5 front layout. Teammates in the corner cheering her on, trying to keep the morale up after McKenna Kelly's injury. And Ruby does a strong, clean set to start off the LSU Tigers on floor.
So a decent start, but gave away some tenths. Drew Watson, meanwhile, her start score on beam at 9.625, so a little bit of an opening here for LSU.
Nice set on the double pike. She had good height. Her chest was still down, and her bottom half is pulling her backwards, so which makes that step look like it's out of control. That is a controlled step out, so there will be no deduction for that second one.
Darian Goborn is the next up on balance beam. First time in the all-around and first time on balance beam for this young lady. She is a contender right now in the all-around after 2 great routines on vault and the uneven bars.
Darian has such swag on beam. I love her, how she dances, how she performs, hitting her back handspring layout series like it's on the floor. A little slight balance check on that full turn, which is a requirement.
After 2 rotations, she is just a 1/4 of a tenth behind the leader in the all-around, Kennedy Edney from LSU.
Cat jump to side aerial. A nice 180 switch leap to straddle quarter. On balance beam, you're required to have 2 dance elements connected, an acro series, a full turn, and a dismount with a minimum of C value. But there's also these little rules and stipulations where you can do connections and a round off double full dismount. A little bit loose legs coming around the end of that twist, but it should be a decent score for her first time competing on balance beam in the NCAA. Nice big 180.
Is that far enough in your eyes?
That is a 180 in my eyes.
So Darian continues to move on with the poise of a veteran, even though she is only a freshman. Now Reagan Campbell gets a chance for LSU on floor exercise. Ruby Harold starts with a 9.825, so a very good start score for LSU in this rotation.
Floor is my favorite event. The mix of acro series like this 2.5 twist with dance and jumps and leaps and turns. I think it's just the most entertaining to watch. Their volunteer assistant coach, Ashley Claire Kearney, is responsible for their choreography, which she always does a great job. Second tumbling pass, big double back. Switch half to straddle full. So far, so good for this second person up on LSU's floor lineup. Just need a strong finish on this last tumbling pass. Round off 1.5 front layout. She nailed it. Her teammates are loving it. This is what you want to see your team do in moments of adversity where you lose a teammate in the lineup, so now you have to step up and make sure all your scores are counting.
Tomorrow night, we will have more men's college basketball for you as number 18 Kentucky hosts Vanderbilt. Then Tuesday, we'll have the Gators taking on the number 14 Bulldogs at the Hump in Starkville, 7 Eastern, right here on the SEC Network and streaming live on the ESPN app.
Taylor Krippner giving the judges some eyes, which I love.
Darian Goborn, a 9.75, so her low score of the night. I thought maybe a little lower than I expected.
Yeah, I was surprised that it was that low, to be perfectly honest. Cat jump to front aerial to back handspring. One of the biggest differences you'll see in NCAA gymnastics versus elite gymnastics that you see in Olympics is these girls are really working the crowd. It's a performance for them, and unfortunately there's a fall like that which is going to take away from the whole product of that routine, because it was such a beautiful routine up until that point.
So they are going to have to count a 9.625 from Drew Watson and a 9.75 now with that Taylor Krippner fall. The pressure is on Auburn the rest of this rotation. They can drop that score. They have got to hit if they want to keep this meet close.
Didn't absorb that landing the way she ideally would like to. Landing that lengthwise on the beam is personally, I think it's the hardest way to land on the balance beam. A lot of athletes like it, but I think it makes it easier to fall off if you don't have the nice toe grip like you can typically have.
Sarah Edwards mounts the floor. She is a sophomore, and she is following Raiden Campbell's 9.85. She says she knew she wanted to go to LSU since she was a level 5. Here's her chance.
Front handspring, front double full, a little bit unsteady on her landing. Going for her second tumbling pass. Round off back handspring, double tuck. Very well controlled. Switch side, straddle full to jump full. LSU always has a nice mix of strong, hard tumbling skills with really beautiful and eloquently done leaps and jumps. Last tumbling pass, front handspring, front full, front tuck. Looks like that might have been a little bit of a mess up. She could have been trying to do a front full front layout, which I saw her warm up, but she covered it well and stayed on her feet. The front full, you could tell that that punch out of the front full wasn't as tight and giving her the height she wanted to do that front layout. A smart move doing the tuck and not risking a fall.
So it is a hit routine. Likely will not be up in the mid 9.8s like the previous two gymnasts for LSU, but for Auburn, Taylor Krippner puts up a 9.175, and that can be devastating. It's so much pressure on the last three gymnasts. As you can see, they are going to have to count 2 scores at 9.75 or lower, which is not a great score to count. But Abby Millay, if anybody can stop the bleeding, is this young lady right here.
Abby mounted with a front tuck mount. Very difficult mount. You don't see many athletes doing that. It's a risky way to start your beam routine, but she nailed it. It was very well done. Back handspring, step out, layout, step out, spot on. Nice split jump to sheep jump. Very difficult blind landing on that jump. Cat jump to gainer full dismount with a stick. That's the type of routine Auburn was looking for. They had great beam routines last week, and that's her new beam coach, Ashley Johnston. She was on national team with me for a number of years, an Alabama gymnast. She's really stepped up their game on beam, and these girls look like they've been putting in the work.
Coaching staff really talked about the chemistry between that whole staff, and they are fun to watch. They have a fun coaching camaraderie as we move over to floor. Now this is the change. McKenna Kelly is out. Bailey Ferrer is in. She only came onto campus recently and went to her first class, actually first classroom, because she has been homeschooled. And so this is a big change for this young lady to step onto the college campus. They were hoping to get her into a couple events later in the season, but here she is. She's got to step up because McKenna Kelly right there, tweaked to that ankle. Hopefully it is just a tweak, but they are going to play it safe, obviously, and keep her on the sidelines today.
That's the toughest spot, when you feel like you're ready to come in, and then it's just something simple like a short landing, and then it's going to sidetrack you just for a little bit.
And what is Bailey thinking right now? Because she literally went to her first class Wednesday.
You must think she has culture shock
stage
right now, being like, oh, I went from being a club athlete, homeschooled, to being in the best conference for women's gymnastics, about to go to my first class, going on my first road meet. Like, it must be overwhelming for her.
Can ignorance be bliss?
100%. Maybe
she's
she's
go out there
taking it in stride.
And do your thing.
Starting her routine off with a round-up back handspring, Arabian double front, very low landing. Looks like she stepped out of bounds.
The judge did raise her hand, so they're going to hit her for a 10 for that. You see the scores so far for LSU on this event. Not great scores, but certainly good enough to take back the lead from a struggling Auburn beam lineup.
Short on that round-up back handspring double pike. It's tough being that alternate athlete, not really getting a full warm-up because you don't think you're going to be in lineup, and then next thing you know, you're taking off your warm-ups, getting into the mix.
How valuable can this be, though, to be in there in the adversity? It's early in the season. You have a lot of time to get things together. I feel like it can only help.
This is great experience for her. It may not be the routine she was hoping for herself to put out there, but it's going to be, you know what, I learned from this. I'm going to be better the next time they call my name to put me in lineup. Round up back handspring, 1.5 punch front. Looks like she missed that punch to give her the height and everything she wanted for a front layout out of that skill instead of a tuck.
No smiles from Bailey after that routine, but you know what? Good job, young lady. She steps up in a tough situation, and she hits her routine. It does have a few mistakes, like this one right here.
The big set, Arabian double front. It's a very tough skill. She just wasn't ready for the landing. She held onto her legs too long instead of opening up into the floor to be ready for her feet to hit.
And I think her coaches know that was a tough spot to be in, and she did an admirable job. Now back over to beam. Abby Millay puts up a 9.9. Now this is Skylar Shepard. The Auburn coaches talk of Abby and Skylar as the nasty attitude of the team. They are mean. They have something to prove. And right now is the chance to do it. Can Skylar build on that 9.9 from Abby Millay?
Back handspring, step out, layout, step out.
Beautiful.
It was floaty. That was like a beautiful series. Like, if you were looking that up in the Code of Points of how it should be done, that's what they would show. It was very beautiful.
She got a floaty, and I'm not sure if that's actually a word, but
it
I
is
like
now. Added to the dictionary by Alicia Quinn, 2019. Cat jump to switch side. Didn't fully get that swing leg all the way through to turn her hip over to get the side straddle.
Skylar's a transfer from Arizona after the 2017 season. Was injured last year, redshirted, so this is really her first season to compete here at Auburn.
Back handspring step out. Back 1.5, small hop. That is a very nice 1.5 twist for only being from a back handspring step out. That takes a lot of power to do, and she did that very well.
This is a big hit. If they have any hope of winning this meet, they had to have this routine, and of course the next one as well, but
it wasn't the
well
best routine Auburn has seen tonight, but it was good enough to make up for the other routines that had the mistakes.
A pressure situation. Now Sarah Finnegan steps up. As guaranteed a hit as you'll ever find. You can see her all-around total so far. She is in the mix. The all-around battle is really crammed within a half a tenth after two, so it's anybody's title to win. Amongst the 4 all-around competitors, as we mentioned.
Round off, 1.5 step out, round off back handspring, 2.5. Auburn's unique, LSU's unique on floor. You don't see many back twisting routines and passes in college anymore because it takes a lot of control. And they have multiple girls that do it, and they do them very well.
You can see that team total partway through this rotation. LSU moved a half a point now ahead of Auburn. But remember, Auburn is still counting that 9.175. So assuming Meredith Sylvia, who's last up, hits, they can drop that and close that gap. Bailey Ferrer, right before Sarah Finnegan, got a 9.55. So that is certainly a score LSU will want to drop.
Switch ring to switch half. Beautiful fluid leaps and jumps. Full 180. Sarah is one of the most elegant gymnasts I've ever watched. As an athlete and as a commentator, this is a huge double pike, kicks it out, well-controlled landing.
And she just does what Sarah does, and she just rocks a set in a pressure situation.
Sarah's a great athlete from Gage Gymnastics, was an Olympic alternate because she has these skills that are back pocket for her, pulling out a double back like she could do it in her sleep. Beautiful double pike, opening it up, just giving LSU a routine that they needed to kind of pick up the morale a little bit. I feel like they're taken back and not as pumped up as they were when the meet first started.
The most important person in the room, though, for LSU, Dee Bro, she liked it. As we move over to the beam, now pressure is on Meredith Sylvia. Skylar Shepard got a 9.825. Last week, Meredith Sylvia put up a 9.925. That was her career high score on this event. She's actually never counted a fall on beam in 2018, and she really desperately needs to continue that here.
Front aerial to full twisting back handspring swing down.
New
a little bit
her.
Crooked, and she made it work. She didn't fall. She just slowed it down a bit and waited till she had control of the skill before she kept going.
See the scores for Auburn in this rotation at 9.175, just glaring at them. They want to get rid of that.
A little bit dropping her shoulder on a balance check on that switch half.
Sarah Finnegan, meanwhile, on floor, putting the pressure on. 9.9 for her.
Cartwheel, gainer full, dismount off the side, step backwards.
They really wanted that. They need that step. Pretty interesting young lady. Meredith taught herself scuba, got herself certified, and she went down to Belize on her own, did some scuba diving as part of a coral reef preservation project, dove a number of times a day, and took some samples from the coral reef, and she just put that on her shoulders and did it on her own. I'm afraid to go to a swimming pool by myself, let alone go scuba diving, but an amazing young lady. And now Kennedy Edney trying to finish off the floor rotation for LSU. They've had their own struggles here. They are currently counting a 9.55, with which Kennedy is certainly capable of blowing that away and still salvaging a great team score for them.
First tumbling pass. Arabian double front, opens up a little early, stays on her feet. She will get a deduction for taking that extra step backwards. Second tumbling pass, round off 1.5 front layout.
Is this the Friday night dance party, Alicia?
It is. LSU always kind of gets you pumped up for your Friday night plans, post Friday Night Heights. Nice torchete half. Teammates cheering her on in the corner. Last pass, double tuck, fights for that landing. Started out very strong, didn't land and finish the routine the way she wanted. It wasn't a fall, but it was definitely, judges are going to take a strong deduction on that landing.
So we are through 3 rotations. We got one more big one to go. And when we come back, we're going to take a look at the first week of competition here in the SEC while LSU gets ready for balance beam and Auburn gets ready for floor. It's kind of close. In fact, it can't be any closer. We have a tied meet. This is going to be a fun one coming through down the stretch. We got a new Auburn fan as well. Kendra Willard, she is a Auburn Gymnastics SID, and she has a young daughter, Elsie Joy Willard, born this morning, 7 pounds, 10 ounces. What a beautiful young lady, and maybe a gymnast someday. We shall see. So last week, we had some great performances. Sarah Finnegan, Alicia, back at it.
She was Gymnast of the Week. She won the all-around title with a 39.675 out of the gate. First meet of the season. That is pretty great scoring for her. Specialist of the Week goes to Missouri senior Brittany Ward. She won beam in the quad meet with a 9.95. And last but certainly not least is Georgia's Rachel Lucas, who tied on second on vault and tied for third on floor.
Earlier this evening, Missouri was visiting Gainesville and the Florida Gators, and it was a big one for both teams, really. But at the end of the night, Trinity Thomas and her squad got the job done.
Beautiful transitions, like flawless lines, double layout, no leg separation, beautiful stick. This girl has so much talent. Big double layout on that floor routine.
She's going to be fun to watch over the years. She is
going to
something
be
else.
an excellent college gymnast. And my fellow Alicia crushed it on the all-around today, starting it strong on vault, moving it over to bars, keeping the scores consistent, nailing her routines, making it look easy. As a senior, this is what you want. You want to go have your last season go out with a bang, and she's doing that from the get-go.
So Florida wins 197.3, the second highest score in the country so far this season, but Missouri puts up a 196.45. Missouri did an outstanding job. So coming up on balance beam will be LSU and the current leader in the all-around, Sarah Finnegan. Meanwhile, floor exercise, Drew Watson and Auburn will try to get done what she hasn't been able to do in 7 tries, beat LSU. A little funky, fun in bump. I'm still waiting for them, Alicia, to put us in this, although I do miss seeing the coaches in the funky, fun in bump. And we've got a great one. We talked about it. It is a tie game going into the final 6 routines for each team. Auburn will be on floor exercise. LSU on the dreaded balance beam to finish. What has got to happen for Auburn to change the tide of the last 7 meets?
Auburn needs to not get ahead of themselves. Like, this is an exciting spot for them to be in. They're tied. They see that they can win this, but they cannot make any mindless mistakes because they're too excited. LSU, they need to just be the best that they can on beam by being consistent, not counting any major errors, and making sure they are clean.
We see the experience from LSU there. They have 2 gymnasts, Bridget Dean and Sammy Durante, only have competed 1 time for LSU on balance beam. And here we have, on the road in the SEC, the pressure is on in a tie competition. Now, keep in mind, LSU has not lost.
Oh boy.
That is big. LSU has won 2 consecutive regular season SEC crowns. So if they drop a meet early, that can be costly. They went undefeated last year, and here they may let one slip away.
I'm almost speechless at what's happening right now. The points of emphasis that judges are looking for in balance beam is the connections between dance elements, between acro skills that you see as well. In the balance checks, you want to make sure that you are not giving away any wobbles or bobbles to those judges because you weren't confident in your skills.
So that is Christina Desiderio, sophomore, finishing up an unfortunate fall on the balance beam. Alicia, can you see what happened here?
Getting ready for her series. It's a back handspring, layout, step out. She landed with her back foot way too close to her front foot, not giving her enough of a wide base to be able to control that landing.
I can tell you what happened. The balance beam is 4 inches wide, for Pete's sake. I don't know how anybody stays on that thing. Now opportunity knocks. And Ashley Smith raises her arms. First time going this year, did not compete last week. Was the leadoff gymnast all of last year, however, on this event. She's comfortable, should be comfortable with this position.
Round off back handspring, double pike. Not the highest double pike we've seen. A little bit of a big step on that landing, but she stays on her feet. If Auburn can just hit all their routines and not have any catastrophes, they could be in a good spot at the end of this competition. 1.5, front layout, didn't get that tight, nice body form that you're looking for. Switch side, straddle full. Last week, Auburn struggled on floor. They're looking for a big performance from their lineup tonight to try to take this one away from LSU. Round up back handspring, double tuck, lands with the chest down, step backwards, but she stays on her feet, and it's a clean, pretty clean hit routine for Auburn.
It's gonna be interesting. Both teams giving a little bit away. Next week, not 1, not 2, but 3 meets and a special Friday Night Heights. The action kicks off with number 10 Arkansas taking on number 7 Kentucky at 6 Eastern. Then Alicia and I will be at Georgia when number 18 Alabama visits number 5 Bulldogs. And we wrap up the night with Florida and number 4 LSU. You can catch it all 3 right here on the SEC Network and streaming live on the ESPN app. That is the first time we've ever had 3 live gymnastics events in a row. It truly is Friday Night Heights. Now here we go, second up for LSU in this rotation. On balance beam, this is Bridget Dean. As we talked about, Bridget Dean and Sammy Durante have only competed for LSU 1 time each on balance beam in their careers, and now a pressure situation. She's following a miss. Christina Desiderio only puts up a 9.275, so unless Auburn has a mistake, the door is wide open.
A break in that connection. Smart decision to try to cover it up and add an extra jump to get that requirement to have those 2 skills connected. Front aerial. Side aerial to back full dismount. Trying to do that.
Looked like she gave away a little free tenth there at the end.
Put your foot down, girl.
Looked like she had it. Take another look at this landing. Looks like it's there. You know, both teams, honestly, in this last rotation, looked a little tight, a little nervous. Obviously, a big fall from LSU, but even both of the other gymnasts that stayed on gave away a lot of little tenths here and there. It's going to come down to which team wants it more. Skylar Shepard now gets her shot. I am sorry, check that. This is Sam Serio.
Skylar Shepard getting ready to start her floor routine.
We're gonna flip-flop that. Thank you, Alicia. This is Skylar Shepard.
Skylar Shepard, I saw her warm up her first tumbling pass. It is a beautiful triple full. Let's see if she can pull it out when it counts, when the music's playing. Round off back handspring. Triple full, all the way around, well controlled.
She has those long lines which really lend itself great to twisting. As you can see from that triple twist mount.
Switch side, straddle full.
Ashley Smith started the rotation with a 9.775. So not a great score, but certainly higher so far than LSU put up on the balance beam.
1 pass remaining. Giving herself a quick little come on before she starts to tumble. Round off 1.5 front lay. A little tiny bit under rotated, but she makes it work. Auburn wants to run away with this.
Last pass one more time.
That 1.5 front legs just needed her chest to come up and over a little bit more, but she wasn't going to give that away. So she just made it work. Small step back, kept going.
They want to run away with this, Alicia, but they are still giving away a few tenths. And even though LSU has a fall, they've got some big routines later in this lineup. I think Auburn needs to put up some bigger numbers. Bridget Dean, meanwhile, in the second spot, put up a 9.675. This is Sammy Durante, sophomore. Last year was a bar specialist for this team. This year she adds the balance beam.
Front aerial to beat jump.
Scored a 9.85 last week versus Cal.
Back handspring, step out, layout, step out.
Ooh, nice save.
Decent sized balance check there. I could see from the way her foot stepped in on that back handspring that she was gonna not be perfectly straight on the beam. Switch leap, a little bit short on that 180. Aerial to back full, fighting for that landing. Gets the stick crown.
They needed this one.
She makes it work. That back foot, that angle wasn't great. You couldn't tell. It almost double stepped on the beam, causing her hips to not be perfectly square. But hey, I will take a balance check over a fall any day.
Absolutely, and that was really the only visible mistake, and she stuck that landing, which is big. Now we get a chance to see Sam Serio, the senior. They have jockeyed their lineups a little bit. Sounds like Gracie Day will not be in the lineup. She originally was. Skylar Shepard was put in, and Sam Serio dropped to the 3rd spot. Skylar Shepard put up a 9.825, so that is a good score.
Starting with a double pike. Too much juice. Couple steps out of bounds. Going for the second tumbling pass. Front full to front layout. Much better on the control for that landing. Switch side, straddle full. Taking that last final movements before her last tumbling pass, trying to catch her breath. Front 1.5. So it's a hit. Granted, she went out of bounds, but it's not a fall. She stayed on her feet. It still should score decent.
She's a pretty impressive young lady, aerospace engineer. She has already got a job with Boeing. She got engaged last summer, and man, as a senior in college, I could barely figure out how to run the washing machine, let alone know how to build airplanes. Here we have the all-around Sarah Finnegan with the lead after 3 rotations. It is tight. That freshman from Auburn, little over a tenth rather, behind her heading into this final rotation. Obviously, Sarah will be on beam, Darian on floor. We'll see how those two play out. Kennedy Edney mounts the balance beam. Sammy Durante put up a 9.725. You can see no big scores really so far for LSU on beam, and that glaring miss in the leadoff spot for Christina Desiderio.
Nice little save after her front aerial to Sissone connection. She was off balance, but she just held the dance movement to like get herself back on track. LSU looks like they're just getting ahead of themselves on beam. They're not finishing each movement, and they're just rushing. Like, it's a nice switch leap, but she's just very rigid when she's hitting the beam instead of just being calm. Beam is about finding your tempo. And if you're rushing yourself, it's going to be very hard to get yourself back on track and calm down in the middle of a beam routine. Very solid front toss to 2 feet. Round off 1.5. Nice height. Just no control on that landing.
Tell us if this is 180.
So a nice front aerial. So technically she's supposed to be doing a Sissone, where it's your front leg is a little bit lower than your back leg. So it was still almost 180, but it wasn't technically a split jump.
So if you recognize that name, Edney, and you're a basketball fan, you probably remember Tyus Edney from UCLA back in 1995, went coast to coast to keep UCLA in the tournament. They went on to win it, and he is her dad. Quite some athletic lineage. Now Darian Goborn mounts the floor, exercise the freshman, battling to win what they haven't done in a long time, beat LSU, and also steal an all-around title from the veteran, Sarah Bennigan.
Opening with a double back. Was voted the team clown by her teammates.
And the team best dancer, and you can see why.
The girl can perform, I gotta give her that. A switch ring to Torjite half. Second tumbling pass. Front full to front layout. A floaty front layout, John.
That was a very floaty. So Sam Terrio only a 9.65 with that big bounce out of bounds. That's going to hurt. They are doing their best to keep LSU in this, even though LSU is having some mistakes on balance beam.
Last tumbling pass. You can hear the crowd screaming, double pike to a stick. People are going crazy. That was what Auburn was looking for. The double tuck, super high, well controlled. Ended the routine with a huge double pike. Look at everybody in the crowd loving it, so pumped. This guy just super jazzed.
That was outstanding. What a superb freshman. What a great story, too. Her mom worked so hard to get her through gymnastics, worked 3 jobs at one point, and it's a dream come true for her to be here at Auburn. And now, Reagan Campbell, the sophomore from Dallas, Texas, and Texas Dreams, mounts the balance beam in a tough spot. Kennedy Edney only a 9.7 in the 4th position.
Made her series of the back handspring layout step out. Texas Dream produces such beautiful athletes, and they all have a very similar style. So watching them compete is always a pleasure. A little bit of a balance check there on the Sissone. Switch leap to switch half. Didn't fully get her feet all the way around. I'll be interested to see if the judges are going to give her credit for that. Round off, double full dismount, small hop back on that landing.
You know, you can see it on the faces of the LSU Tigers. They just seem a little deflated. They know no matter how this meet ends, they got some work to do.
Ending that routine. Good height. Just needed to be ready to absorb that landing better when her feet hit the ground.
So back over to floor exercise. You're looking at Drew Watson, but all the excitement is about Darian Goborn, a 9.95, and man, did it come at a good time. 2 gymnasts left for Auburn, 1 gymnast left for LSU on balance beam.
Drew struggled a bit in warm-up on her opening tumbling pass. Let's see if she makes the correction here to land on her feet. Round off back handspring, double pike. Kicked it out a little early.
Drew Watson is competing the all-around. She cannot win it, however. She will not catch her teammate, Darian Goborn, up to that 9.95. And Sarah Finnegan also is yet to go on the balance beam as well. So possibly a top 3 finish for her yet.
Second pass, round off back handspring, double tuck. Better control on that landing. Switch side, straddle full.
So I am being told by our crack staff that a 9.8 for this routine will win it for Auburn, but Alicia, there's been a few mistakes. 9.8 is not a guarantee.
She just defied gravity and made that front layout out of that 1.5 twist. I'm very impressed that she stayed on her feet. There have been little mishaps here and there. The first tumbling pass was short. That front layout was almost under-rotated.
I want you to call it right now. Let's just get right to it. Is that a 9.8? Is she going to get a 9.8? Is it going to clinch it, or is it going to come down to that last routine?
They might give her a 9.8 if they're at home, if they're feeling generous. I would assume it would be like a 9.75 for that routine.
9.775. It's going to be close. A battle here in Auburn, Alabama, and the Auburn Tigers really are doing what they said they wanted to do, scrap and fight and get people to talk about them. And they're going to be talking about this meet for a while as Sarah Finnegan tries to pull a rabbit out of a hat for LSU. She needs to be almost perfect.
Back handspring, step out, layout, step out. These are like uncharacteristic mistakes for LSU.
They have still not cracked the 9.9 on this event. Only 1 score in the 9.8. So when you see Sarah Finnegan even have a wobble, you know it is an off night for LSU.
They think they just got deflated once they lost McKenna. She is the heart and soul behind that team, and I think once they got hurt, they just kind of took the steam out from them. A nice side summy. Front air or side aerial to back full, stuck landing, beautiful dismount. She had a little bit here and there balance checks, but that's still a wonderful routine for Sarah. Beautiful, nothing you can take away from that. And you can tell on her face, she's like not happy, she's upset.
Yeah, she doesn't even want the stick crown.
No, she's like, give it away, I don't want it.
Get rid of this thing. Tough night for LSU. Drew Watson at 9.775, so Alicia, we were right in there. And on the other side of that, Finnegan still, though, needs a 10-0 for LSU to stay in it. That is not going to be a 10-0, so unofficially, it looks like Auburn is going to win this meet. But we have 1 to go, and that is senior Abby Millay. And she can go out and have a good time with this one.
Front layout to front 1.5 twist. Switch ring to switch half. This is the best I've seen Abby Millay look. She's healthy, she's strong, she's doing some great gymnastics. We've been watching her over the last few years, and she's really embracing this senior year. Round off back handspring, double pike. scrambling pass. Round off, 1.5, front layout. And with that, I think Auburn locks this up. Crowd is going nuts. You can't help but smile at this, John. They've put an end to kind of an era of LSU just taking this meet.
It's been since 2013 is the last time that Auburn beat LSU here in this venue. This is big for them. They are a scrappy team, and you know, if I was going to compare these two teams, without offending Auburn, this is a compliment. You look at LSU and they're thoroughbreds. They are elite gymnasts, top to bottom, national team members. Auburn, they don't have that pedigree, but they're scrappers and they're fighters, and they are going to work hard. And I have a feeling we're going to see them in the mix as we head down the stretch in the SEC season. We will wrap this up when we come back. I got to catch my breath. It was a great one here in Auburn, Alabama, and Auburn gets it done for the first time since 2013. They beat the LSU Tigers here at home, and that is one happy group. And Alicia, one of the big spots they got it done was the uneven bars, as we see Sarah Finnegan. She gets a share of the all-around, but she's got to share it with that young lady, the freshman from Auburn, Darian Goburn. I communicated with her club coaches actually earlier this week, and they said they really miss her. Dave and Laura Paraga from Lakewood Ranch, and you can see why. She is something special. But one of the big moment we just alluded to for Auburn was on the uneven bars. It was only a second rotation, but they really made a statement.
You could feel the energy in the room change once they started hitting these routines. It all started there with that beautiful routine, stuck landing, and then it just kept going. It flowed from one girl to the next, and they just dominated that event. And that's where you kind of saw them starting to pull away from LSU.
The second highest bar score in school history. And certainly one of the highest in the country so far this season. And here's the young lady that gets a share of the all-around. Darian Goburn, the freshman, only her first time doing the all-around, by the way, in her college career, and she gets a share of the title with Sarah Finnegan.
She was on fire tonight. She was consistent, she was strong, she was confident as a freshman. You don't really usually see that much confidence coming from an athlete, and she made it look fun and easy.
And she is hamming it up right until the very end, like she's been here for 4 years already. Man, she is going to be fun to watch. What a privilege for us to get to watch young ladies like her.
We have a tie for first place. Both gymnasts with an all-around score.
Great competition. Again, Auburn gets it done here at home. They break the streak. It ends at 7. They get the win against the number 4 LSU Tigers. It's early in the season, but man, it started off with a bang. For Alicia Sacramone Quinn, I am John Roethlisberger. So long from Auburn, Alabama. It's Auburn getting the win, 196.7 over LSU with a 196.275. So long, everybody.